This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather Holders, Jeff Diamond, welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, 30 years ago, May the 14th, one of the most shocking series ever ended. It's the New York Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins in what they call the division finals, aka the conference semifinals. So context here. The Washington Capitals took on the New York Islanders. They were second and third place in the Patrick division, respectively. The Islanders winning 3 overtime games and then winning game 6 in that famous moment that I actually talked about when Dale Hunter went nanos on Pierre Turgeon, knocking Turgeon out for a while. Meanwhile, the two-time defending Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins took on the Devils. And yeah, they lost game 4 in New Jersey. They still won the series in game 5. So it was crazy what to do. I mean, you got yourself some unlikely teams to move on. In the Adams Division final, both Buffalo and Montreal upset their fellow top teams. Montreal took out number 2 Quebec, and Buffalo, as the 4th seed, took care of number 1 Boston. Montreal would make quick work of Buffalo, although it took 3 overtime games to do so. So the Penguins won the Patrick division. In fact, the Penguins once went on a 17-game winning streak. Not undefeated streak. Winning streak. And did it, taking care of things. The Islanders, of course, took care of Washington. So it looked like Pittsburgh was going to march over the Islanders and then face Montreal in what would be a dream conference final with Patrick Roy versus Mario Lemieux. Both great legends of the 90s, and both born on the same day, October 5th, 1965. But anyway, Pittsburgh Penguins, New York Islanders. This would be a huge matchup and all that. However, Game 1 saw the Islanders win with goals by Vladdy Malakov, Ray Ferraro, and Benoit Hogue. Pittsburgh had goals by Mike Needham and Jeff Daniels. Not the actor, but the hockey player, Jeff Daniels. Game 2, the Penguins won 3-0. Joe Mullen, Rick Tocchet, and Ron Francis scored, with Tom Barrasso getting the shutout. Then, at the Nassau Coliseum, Pittsburgh won 3-1 with goals by Francis, Jaromir Jagr, and Mullen. Islanders had goal by Ray Ferraro, his 10th for the postseason, which was pretty impressive. Game 4 was a crazy one. The Penguins and Islanders combined for 11 goals. The Islanders won 6-5 to split the series at 2. With 2 goals by both Tom Fitzgerald and Derek King, who never scored in the postseason beforehand. Ray Ferraro and Vladdy Malakov scored goals themselves. The Penguins scored goals by Jagr, Troy Loney, Rick Tocchet, Kevin Stevens, and Ronnie Francis. Game 5 saw the Penguins crush the Islanders like a grape 6-3. Lemieux, Tocchet, Murphy, Lemieux, Joe Mullen, and Jaromir Jagr scored. So Lemieux finally getting on the board. Lemieux being shadowed by Darius Kasparaitis, by Hooker, by Crick. The Islanders did score with Jeff Norton, Brian Mullen, and Travis Green. But still, Glenn Healy was chased from the net, and Mark Fitzpatrick came in. So it looked like the Penguins were going to restore order. They needed to. But in Game 6, the Islanders won 7-5. They scored goals by Brad Delgarno, Derek King, Ray Ferraro, Steve Thomas, Brian Mullen, Thomas again, and Uwe Krupp, the immortal Uwe Krupp, with an empty net goal. Pittsburgh had Marty Straka score 2 goals. Bet you didn't know Martin Straka. Well, Martin Straka in his first goal around as a Penguin. Then Lemieux and Kevin Stevens scored. Well, Stevens scored twice. So it looked like Lemieux was back in his comfort zone. He was scoring. The Penguins looked good. But they lost 7-5. Which leads us to Game 7. Pittsburgh were hoping to win. Alf Samuelsson scored first at 7:59 of the second period. And then Steve Thomas scored his 6th of the postseason to make it 1-1. The Penguins were in trouble as David Volek, remember the name, and Benoit Hogue made it 3-1. So it looked like the Islanders, with like 5 minutes left, were going to shock the Penguins. the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions. But Pittsburgh hung on. Ron Francis and Rick Tocchet scored a few minutes apart. And guess what? It's 3-3. We're going to overtime. Winner takes on Montreal. And, of course, CBC showed the live coverage from Jacques Demers' office in Montreal as he needed to know who the Habs would face in the Stanley Cup semifinals. Will it be a trip to Pittsburgh or will it be a home series against the Cupcakes? I mean the Islanders. Well, in the first 5 minutes, the first few minutes were tight, but then Pittsburgh decided to go out of some rush, and unfortunately for them, they got caught out of position. And the Islanders went on a 2-0-1. Ferraro and Volek went for it. Volek decided to take the shot instead of passing it to Ray Ferraro. Volek score. If I can remember the Chris Cuthbert call. Volek scores. 2-1 Islanders. David Volek scores. David Volek Islanders. And there will be a new Stanley Cup champion for 1993. Unfucking believable. Can you imagine? The New York Islanders had just sniped the two-time defending champions out of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Just unbelievable. How do you do that? How dare you do that? So anyway, the Islanders were going to go on to the conference finals. Fortunately for fans of the Penguins, the Islanders got losing in 5 to the Habs, which led them to the Stanley Cup Finals and a title win over Gretzky. It would have been great to see Lemieux versus Waugh, but anyway, Montreal won the Stanley Cup. And the Islanders, that was weird because for 23 years, that was the last time the Islanders won a playoff series. It took till 2016 when John Tavares sunk the Panthers with a wraparound goal. Kind of weird how Tavares did that, and then he did that recently for the Leafs to break their 19-year drought. So it was just shocking. It was shocking to see the New York Islanders freaking beat the Penguins and win the playoff series. Pittsburgh would rally back a little bit, but they couldn't really capture the magic in the mid-90s that they did in the early 90s. This would be huge. This would be the last game that Scotty Bowman would coach with the Penguins as he left for Detroit after the season. But a lot of people said that the series was won for the Islanders based on Darius Kaspariz's close checking, if you will, of Mario Lemieux. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, Al Arbour, surprised to see Al Arbour behind the bench still with the Islanders, and he won a playoff series. But that's what happens. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond.